Hello and welcome to the Pete Braley Show. Thank you so much for checking us out. On this show, we shine the spotlight on people that have contributed to making life better here in New Bedford and in southeastern Massachusetts. Since 1962, if you wanted to play an instrument in the school band or orchestra, or if you wanted to take lessons to learn the piano, guitar, even the oboe, you went to, chances are, the Symphony Shop on Route 6 in Dartmouth. And I am so happy to introduce you to today's guest, Bob Williamson, who is the owner of the Symphony Shop across from Bishop Stang High School. Bob, welcome.
Thank you, Pete. Nice to be here.
True story. I reached out to Bob September 10th. I looked it up, and I asked if he'd like to be on the show, and he said, quote, perhaps another time, just into the busy season with back to school, maybe after the new year. So I saved that. September, I didn't think of that. September must be crazy.
Well, it's a little crazier than sometimes, but it's crazy all the time for me. I don't know why.
When I was looking up some notes for today, I noticed that in 1962, the Symphony Shop started. We're about the same age, so it wasn't you, right?
No, it definitely wasn't me.
Okay.
No, 62, John and Nancy Pandolfi started the Symphony Music Shop in their home in Marion, moved it to Mattapoisett. John at the time was teaching at Tabor Academy, and he was a renowned clarinetist. He played with the New Orleans Symphony, graduated out of doing the conservatory, and ended up landing a job in New Orleans. Played in New Orleans for several years, but he's originally from this area, so they moved back up this way to be closer to family and start their own family. In '62, they opened the shop while he was teaching at Tabor. Kind of sold reeds and things out of his home, and then as things go with small shops like that, they just kind of grew. They moved to Mattapoisett, and then from Mattapoisett they moved to the Dartmouth area. At one point in time, they had two shops. I think that was short-lived, and then they've been in the location, that little plaza we're on Route 6, since I don't know, the early '70s, I believe.
When did you become a part of the Symphony Shop?
I got here in 1982.
Okay.
I went to a repair school at State University of New York in Morrisville, New York. It's an ag tech school, and they had this little 2-year associate's degree program in musical instrument repair. I went through that school, got out of there, sent resumes all over the country. I could have ended up in Shreveport or Kansas or any number of places, and for some reason I ended up here.
Are you from the area?
I am not. I'm from Connecticut originally.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And my wife was a public school music teacher. She went to Plymouth State College in New Hampshire. She was from New Hampshire originally. So when I was in New York, she was in New Hampshire. We kind of did the long distance thing. And then this was kind of a meeting spot. We were 2 hours from my folks in Connecticut, 2 hours from her folks in New Hampshire, and here's where we stayed.
Look at that.
82. That's a long time ago.
Wow. So was music always, did you know you were going to be involved in music somehow? What'd you want to be when you grew up?
Hey, that's a loaded question. I have no idea. I think, music has always been a part of my life. I think, as a fifth grader, fourth grader, I can't remember which, we saw a demonstration of musical instruments at our school, similar to what they do today.
Yeah.
And I originally thought I wanted to be a drummer, and there I was in a class with 12 other drummers, and that wasn't for me. So I switched over to trumpet, and that's what I continue to play today.
And you continue to play. We mentioned the South Coast Jazz Band?
The South Coast Jazz Orchestra. Yeah, I started that about 15 years ago.
15 years ago.
15 years ago. Yeah. So when we got here in '82, excuse me, John Pandolfi was, of course, my boss at the shop, and I was there doing repairs. And there was a gentleman there who was doing repairs at the time, Mr. Freddie Josephek. And he was their repairman, but he was getting close to retirement age, and I was there kind of a little bit of apprenticing with him and helping him in the shop. And then when he retired, I kind of took over the repairs and then got involved in just about everything else, running the music store and keeping that all going.
Wow.
And I had been playing, since I got here. I was always enjoyed playing the trumpet, and so when my wife and I first moved into the area, my wife was a clarinetist. and John was conducting several bands in the area. He did the Mattapoisett Community Band, which is on Wednesday nights. He did Marion Concert Band, which was on, I think, at Monday nights at that time. I think John did 3 or 4, maybe 5 town bands throughout the South Coast when we first arrived here. And he said, well, here you are, you're going to play in the band. And that was it. So we started playing in the Marion and the Mattapoisett community bands. John also did the Tri-County Symphonic Band, which at that time was the Regional Symphonic Band. And then my wife and I played in that as well. And then different things throughout the years. Played New Bedford Symphony for a stretch of time until we had kids, and then that kind of, the time factor went away and things move. I do a lot of community theater work and things like that. I played at the Zaiturnyi for their summer shows for many, many years. And then about 15 years ago, we started that South Coast Jazz Orchestra.
Wow.
Kind of an outlet for my friends and school music teachers and professionals and local cardiologists and different folks to get together and play some music.
I know. And I assume you have a pretty good following that follows you around to the different places you play.
There are people that come out and follow us around.
Yeah.
We were at Gildestone Rooster in Marion for a number of years until COVID came, and then her place shut down, and then she passed. That was a lot of fond memories from Gilda's. We always kind of packed the house. We were always on a Monday night, so it's easy to get musicians to come down because Monday nights are typically dark nights for theaters and off nights for musicians, so people would come in. I've got friends in Boston that would come down. Friends from New York City would come up to play. So we had a good time with that.
What do you think it is about that music that just survives centuries?
It's I don't really know. I mean, it's certainly not the mainstream popular music.
Right.
I mean, in the 40s, 50s, it was the popular music of the day.
The big band era.
The big band era. You know, touring bands. There'd be bus and trucks and flying and traveling all over the country, and that was the entertainment.
Yeah.
Everybody went to the dances in the local hall, wherever it was, and these big bands would just scoot across the country. Probably a pretty cool time to be a musician.
I guess it was, yeah.
So we're just kind of reliving that a little bit. We play not necessarily all the old music, all the old big band swing tunes and things like that, but some more contemporary and modern things. A few folks have written music for the band, so we do some original things. So
nice.
We just keep it plugging away.
I think maybe people, they like to hold on to, what we think were the good old days. I often wonder, were they the good old days, or do we just remember them that way?
I think they were just the different old days. We probably forget the bad things, right?
Yeah, so right.
And we just, all we remember is, what a great time
edit
it was
that out,
back
just
then.
remember the good times.
That's exactly right, yeah.
I was kicking myself this morning on the way here because I even asked my wife last night, I said, do you know where my clarinet is?
There you go.
And she told me, I haven't touched it in years, but I have a clarinet that my mom, I think, rented first to make sure I was going to keep playing.
Yep.
And then she bought from the Symphony Shop. And I'd assume I'd have to bring that in to maybe, it would have to be tuned up a little, or whatever. There's cork, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so that stuff dries out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can fix that up for you. No problem at all.
No problem.
That's what I do. Been doing it for 40, whatever it is, how many years?
Did you say you went to college for that?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't realize that was a college course.
It was, there's not many. Now, I think in the States here, there's maybe 3 or 4 official schools that will teach that. One in Minnesota. I think there's one down in Georgia that I just saw, but not many programs.
Yeah. The
program that we were in got started. There were 2 fellows that did repair work for some music stores and for schools in New York State. Morrisville is kind of central New York, and they started this program. And I think the total program was a 2-year. Kind of, you got out of there with an associate's degree, but it was more like working because we were there 8 hours a day, learning the craft and learning the trade, and then and it was a 2-year program, and I think it ran about 10 or 15 years or so, and then it just stopped. Those fellows got older, they retired. The program just died.
I do wonder if I could. We had a question on the radio show the other day. Did you ever play a musical instrument, and can you still play it?
There you go.
And with the clarinet, I think I could do my C scale.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah.
be about it. I
you go.
don't know if I could get into. Or is it like riding a bike? It'll all come back to me.
It'll eventually come back.
Yeah.
It depends on at what level you left
Stopped.
it at and you
Right.
stopped at. I'll tell you, we're very fortunate in this community because there are opportunities for folks like yourself that used to play. There's a couple of community bands, the Dartmouth Community Band. They play in Pontegansett Park on Tuesday evenings through the summer. There's the Mattapoisett Town Band that plays on Wednesday nights throughout the summer. And those are perfect opportunities for folks that used to play. Say you were the flute player in your high school band, you ended up being the drum major in that high school band.
My wife, yeah.
And that's where I was going.
Yeah.
And
I thought I knew this story.
and you need to get that instrument back out and go play in your Dartmouth Community Band, because there's a lot to, and we're big proponents of that. Myself at the shop, all the teachers at the shop, all the folks that work at the shop with me, my good friend Neil Sylvia, who works at the shop with me. He's a huge proponent of, and we all are, of active music making. It keeps your brain going.
Yes, true.
It's good for everything in your life. It's just making music, and making music with your friends is a perfect outlet for relaxation, just to kind of let the frustrations of your day go by. So when you talk to your wife, and I know every time we see her, Neil says, "Get your flute out.
Yes.
Let's go."
Yep.
Wednesday nights is very little commitment, and there you have it.
I wanted to ask you about the lessons. How many teachers do you have? Does it vary?
There's 35, 36 odd teachers.
Really?
There's between 400 and 500 students a week that go through there.
Wow.
Used to be more, and then the pandemic came along, and that kind of took the sales out of most everything, right? Mm-hmm. But it's built back up now. So
Did you say 400 or 500 students?
Yeah, per week. Yeah, they're about
Per week?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I need a revolving door, but I don't have that yet.
And you've got the lesson rooms are downstairs, if I remember.
I've got 15 individual teaching studios downstairs. Neil has a big percussion studio in the back.
You cover just about everything, too. I mean, obviously there's piano, guitar.
Yeah, I've got probably 6 or 7 piano teachers, about the same number of guitar teachers, all the band and orchestral instruments. Don't do organ, because I don't have an organ in the house.
Okay.
And don't do accordion, because I don't have an accordion teacher.
Oh, okay.
And other than that, pretty much everything.
And with all those students, it keeps you busy. What did I read? Monday through Saturday? You are closed on Sundays.
We are closed on Sundays.
Right. And what is this? Did I see that you do concerts in the storefront window at Christmas time?
Well,
there must be a story behind this.
We don't call it a concert.
Okay.
It's Neil and I, when the pandemic was going on, the shop has a space that we used at that point in time to bring in some musicians. We would grab a couple of video cameras, and we got dangerously close to something like this, but not quite like this. And we would record them and put their little concerts up on our YouTube channel. So we had a YouTube channel at the time, and it's still up there. There's probably a dozen or more performances that we had in our little performance space. We called it In the Shed at the Symphony Shop. We had Mike Kudo in there. We had Quentin Sullivan in there. We had a bunch of our friends and local musicians, and just an outlet for them to get together and play in a safe space.
Right.
Because they couldn't perform in public, because public was closed, right?
Yeah.
So back at that point in time, Christmas time came around. I've got a little display my front window there, and there happens to be a little show stage that we didn't build it as a stage, but it's there.
Right.
It fits the two of us up there. So Neil and I get up there, and we have some laughs, and we play some Christmas music, and people come out. I don't know why, but
I was going to say, you probably don't know why. But
I stick a microphone in the little cage where we are, and put a speaker outside. Neil has quite a following in Dartmouth, so and he's got a lot of students, and they all come out because we just have a good time. And so it's giving back to the community. People come by. We're big on the breakfast set. You know, folks going to the restaurant for breakfast, coming by, and there happens to be a couple of guys in the window playing some Christmas music.
do you put a tip jar on the sidewalk?
We do not. No, there's no tip jar.
Let me. One of the things that as a clarinetist, I always went to the Symphony Shop. I had to get some reeds.
There you go.
I had to get reeds for my instrument. And I was thinking today that if the Surrey shop wasn't there, where would I go for my reeds? And then I thought, I can probably get them on Amazon, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But, I mean, there's more. Tell me about the benefits to coming to you for something like reeds, or if my instrument, you know, I've got a key that sticks.
Like anything, you now with the way the world is and the computers and internet, you can get anything anywhere at any time at the drop of a hat, and you don't have to leave your house. You can sit there and it'll show up at your door, and you know you can call Uber and they'll bring you food or anything you want. You don't need to leave your house. Well, that's pretty sheltered existence, so you need to get out there. The advantage is to somebody walking through my door is you can buy the reed, but I can help you, show you how to put it on. If you're having a problem with getting a sound on your instrument, there's enough of us there that I'll play all these instruments.
Right.
You know, people come in and they'll ask me, well, how many instruments do you play? I say, I play one. I can make noise on everything else. And I know how everything else works, because in order to repair it, you need to know how it works.
Right.
So I know how everything works, and I know how to get a sound on all the instruments. So I can help someone coming in that is having a problem with their instrument, and maybe it's the instrument, maybe it's themselves, maybe it's the way they have it set up, that you can't buy online.
Yeah.
You can't buy online. You can watch a YouTube video, it doesn't translate sometimes. So you need that personal interaction.
How about how computers have influenced music? Because I know a lot of music is made now, right, with a computer.
A lot of us with a computer. There are still live musicians. I mean, with the computer now, you can have a trumpet player in Los Angeles, and he's collaborating with an artist in Nashville, and the artist in Nashville is, hey, I wrote this tune, but I need a trumpet solo. He sends the file via the magic of the
MP3
satellites and the internet and whatever else is going on, and it ends up at my friend's trumpet studio, which looks like this, or smaller, and he's got a nice microphone, and he records the trumpet solo and sends that file back, and they link it all together. That's been going on for years, but now it's much faster and easier.
Right. How as a musician and someone who's been involved in the business since '82, as you said, how do you feel about that? Is it, I mean, do you think, no, you can't do it that way? You have to evolve, right?
Yeah, it's just different. I don't think it will ever take over a room full of musicians sitting together and collaborating real time, face to face.
Right.
You're playing your clarinet, I'm playing my trumpet. We're making music together. You can't replace.
No.
You can't AI that. You can try, and people will say, "Oh well, yeah, it sounds kind of the same." Well, it's not, because it's not creative.
Yeah.
You're relying on, as much as they'll say, "Oh, the machinery can, or the computer can make it creative." It's really not creative.
Right.
Now, you can have AI draw you a picture. It's not the same.
Yeah. We had a situation in my church because of illness. I'm in the choir, and we ended up on one particular Sunday singing to a track that the pianist had created.
Sure.
Which was, I mean, he couldn't be there that Sunday, so it was okay. But as we were rehearsing the number, we had to get it exact.
Right.
Because the track wouldn't slow down,
That's
wait
right.
for
It's
us.
not moving. That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah. So I would assume when you've got live musicians, you can adapt to each other.
That's right.
Do those adjustments, whereby AI or computers, it's not going to happen.
That's right.
Yeah.
And with live musicians, you can take, a particular song and it can morph and change as your moods fit.
I would assume with the jazz orchestra that you have, I would assume that no 2 nights are the same.
No, not at all.
Right. You may play the same number.
You might play the
You
same.
might have the same set list.
Yeah, I'll
but-
pull the same piece of music out, and every night it will sound different, just because maybe there's a different player on a particular part,
Right.
so it sounds a little different, or there's a different soloist within that ensemble playing a solo on a particular song, and it's all brand new.
Yeah.
And that's created live in real time, and you can't
can't
get
beat it.
Yeah, I couldn't put 17 computers out there and have them doing the same thing.
Tell me about your work in the schools. I think I was at the Jira Swift Elementary School when Mom took me to the Symphony Shop for my clarinet.
There you go.
So
All right.
I would assume, and again, I apologize for reaching out to you in September. I should have known better.
No
but-
worries.
No, but what is that like for you? And do you still offer the rental program to make sure the kids like it?
Oh yeah, and that's a big part of of what we do and what we have done. I think right from the get-go, when I got there in '82, that type of program, that rental aspect of providing an instrument, a good quality working properly instrument for kids to get started out on. That's a big part of what we do. It's it's a double-edged type of deal with it. It helps the students. It helps the schools build their program. They can introduce learning to play a musical instrument, which is something you can do all of your life, and at a reasonable cost, because nothing's really for free. Some schools are fortunate enough to have, to get some grants that will buy them instruments, and then the schools can, loan out instruments to those folks that need it. But by and large, it's that rental program that keeps that going. And so someone can come in and rent a clarinet for a month or 2 or 6, or get through the school year. The student took some lessons at school. If they're interested in furthering that their learning, they can get enrolled in some private lessons. That's also a big part of what we do at the shop, and then it carries on from there. So, and then the reverse is true. If they just tried it and they don't like it, they return the instrument. That cancels everything out, and they've had the experience of learning how to play an instrument, whether they continue with it or not.
Right.
They know what goes into making music. They know what it takes to play with an ensemble, and regardless of whether they become professional musicians or amateur musicians in their lives and careers, at least they have an appreciation when they go to hear music. They see somebody playing the clarinet. Wow, I tried that. I wasn't that good, or or I wasn't that interested, but I appreciate what's going on.
Right. Was there a lull in? I seem to remember certain schools cutting their music budget or adjusting the budget. Some local schools had bands that were huge, and now I see smaller numbers. Are we seeing a resurgence, though? Do you see that?
I think it's like everything. There's peaks and valleys, and things come and go. A particular school will have a really strong clarinet section in their band, because the band director at that point in time will happen to be a clarinet player, and boom, now all of a sudden we have this influx of clarinets, and then that teacher retires and moves on, and then somebody else comes into place, and that falls off. So there's always peaks and valleys of everything, right? And that's true in the public schools. I won't get into the workings of public schools and the politics and the finances behind that, but everything changes. And the way to make a program strong is to, be active in promoting what your students are doing. You have to be active in creating an atmosphere where the kids want to play in the ensemble. And sure, the better the ensemble sounds, the more interest there is in kids playing in that. And I got to tell you, there's nothing like playing a musical instrument and getting together with your friends and creating some music.
I was going to say,
in real time.
Could you sum up how that feels? I mean, why do you think we love music so much? I know it's a very deep
I don't think
question.
everybody loves music. There are people that I know that it's in the background, and it'll always stay in the background. They can care less what they're listening to. I think it's a very small small percentage of folks.
Does that,
you know,
yeah.
there's all different styles of music, and it affects people in lots of different ways. If you hear something that's happy and joyful, it can lift your mood. If you're hearing something and it's kind of pensive and it's you know, a little melancholy, that would bring that emotion
Right.
into your feelings. So music definitely has that effect on people. As a musician playing the music, that can change your whole outlook on everything when you're performing live, and especially I find this with the jazz orchestra that I put together. You know, they've got 17 people there from all walks of life: professional musicians, cardiologists that maybe had a rough day, and that particular individual shows up, sits down with the band, and we start to make some music. And his whole outlook just changes.
Yeah.
I
always there was a play I saw a few years ago. I think the Festival Theater might have done it. It was called Forever Plaid. I don't know why I remember this, but there was a line. There was a group of singers. You know, it was like four guys doing on the sidewalk or whatever. And I'll never forget this line. The line was, "There's nothing like being stuck in the middle of a tight chord."
There you go.
And I'll always remember that line because as a singer, you know, I sing bass in the choir.
Yeah.
There are some mornings where we hit this chord and it's like, where did that come from?
Oh, sure.
You get that feeling sometimes on Monday nights?
When everything locks in and it's all kind of cranking along, and you got 17 people and 17 voices all in sync together. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Nothing like it. I guess it would be like if your football team, you know, takes over the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right.
And you can do nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong that day.
There you go.
There's nothing like it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, any thoughts of slowing down?
No, it owns me.
It owns you.
You
own the Surrey shop, but it owns you, right?
Well,
I mean, Symphony Shop. I'm sorry.
I mean, Joe. Well, he had the same. I mean, he had the same feelings. I'm sure.
Yes.
Is that as much as you love it and you show up every day and you go at it, there are days, and then there are really great days. So, you know, when a student comes in or a family comes in and they need help with something, and boom, they're walking out the door like, I'm a hero.
And I know we're not near the holidays, but maybe birthdays or whatever. I love your store around Christmas time, because if you don't know what to buy somebody and they're into music at all, which my wife is and my kids are too, so many accessories. I mean, you know, ties with pianos on them, bookmarks, you name it.
I don't have clothing. I mean, we're not a lifestyle brand, but
I didn't see a tie with the pianos on it. No? Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe at one point, one of the years.
Maybe, yeah.
No, but we're all there just to help people keep making music.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about.
Thank you so much for being with us.
I appreciate your time. Thank you. Thanks for
having
me.
Bob Williamson from the Symphony Shop, which is located on Route 6 in North Dartmouth. There's no north and south anymore,
it's all
right?
just Dartmouth.
It's Dartmouth across from Stang. By the way, if you know someone that you think we should have on, please let me know. You can message me on Facebook. I'm on X. You can find me at Pete Braley on X, or email thepetebraleyshow@gmail.com. That's thepetebraleyshow@gmail.com. Quick thought for the day, which we always do, and our thought today is, big goals are achieved by small steps. You got to get moving to get it done. Thanks for tuning in. No matter what, go out and make it a great day.